Hey there, drone fans. Rick here again from Drone Valley. In today's video, it's going to be a little bit different than we normally do because we're not talking about drones. We're talking about a technology that's near to my heart, but I haven't actually taken the plunge yet, and that's around EV vehicles. Now, my cousin Roger here has owned electric vehicles for quite some time, and every time we get together, he asks me why I haven't taken the plunge. So I've got a lot of questions that I want to ask him, and I think these will pertain to anybody out there that's thinking about getting into the EV market and don't really understand yet maybe what they're getting into, and they have some trepidation about certain questions. So I'm going to try and answer all the questions that I have, and hopefully those are questions you have. So before we get too deep into it, Raj, you've owned 3 electric vehicles so far, right?
Correct. 2
Mustangs,
yes,
and then a Tesla.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Tell me what you have currently, the 2 cars.
I have a 2022 Mustang Mach-E all-wheel drive, and I have the Tesla all-wheel drive dual motor. That's a 23. I bought that in July 23, and I've owned them both as new vehicles.
Okay. And you drive them a lot. I mean, you travel to Florida occasionally, and you
yes.
fly across country.
We do have another gas vehicle that we keep down in Florida, but yeah, I first got the 2021. I took delivery of that in December of 2020. I had that for 6 months. It was a 2-wheel drive Mach-E. I traded that in and got the 2022. And then the next year we bought the Tesla. The 2023, we were finding that when we go to Florida, the charging isn't too good on some of the other charging companies, and Tesla's got a pretty, I mean, it's you plug it in and it goes.
Right.
You know, there's no doubt about that. You can find any of that anywhere. Any owners will tell you that.
And so you've owned, I mean, unlike a lot of videos, because there's a ton of videos on YouTube about EVs and reviews of EVs.
Correct.
And I think a lot of those videos are just guys that go to a rental place and they'll rent the car for that weekend. They'll take it out and they're doing kind of a cursory review of the product. They don't really have a lot of experience driving it, whereas you've owned these now for a couple of years.
Right.
So you understand what's great about them, maybe some things that aren't perfect with them. So I think that's a valuable opinion.
Right.
Of somebody
yes.
who owns the vehicle.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, between the 2 of them, I'll go between the 2 of them first, that they each have their strengths. And I don't know if you'd call it weaknesses, but they're each a little bit better in some areas than the other one.
Okay. Well, I'll try and peel the onion back on that as we get through some of these questions.
Okay.
So the first question I have is, I've been driving an internal combustion engine since I started driving. My first vehicle was a 1962 Ford van, and I was 17 years old driving that around. I bought it for $100, and I loved that truck. I've always been a van guy. So for me, I understand internal combustion engines. I understand how to fix them, how to tune them, and I'm comfortable with them. And when I think of an EV, I almost think of that as a different style of technology completely than what I'm used to. So I've held back for some of the questions I've got here. But for you to jump from a long-time car guy, and I knew you when I was younger and you had hot cars, you still have a hot car with the Mach-E, but you were into cars. It must have been a big jump from you to move from that gas-powered car to an EV.
Yeah, I guess so, because I guess typically somebody my age doesn't do it when they're in their mid-70s.
Right,
you know?
right.
So yeah, it was a switch. Like you say, I've owned those muscle cars. I've lived those years back in the 60s. My first car was a 1965 Chevelle Super Sport. Then I owned it about a month or 2 before I took it to the drag strip. And I owned several of them after that.
Right.
So yeah.
So that leap then from a regular car, I'll call it, to an EV was a big deal for you.
It was.
Yeah.
You know.
And why did you do that? What was the impetus behind it? Was it the gas savings or the cool factor?
Rich, I think it was. I think it was like, well, this is the next thing.
The future.
You know, this is the future, and I think in some ways it is, and I think in some ways it's going to take a while before we get to all EVs. As a matter of fact, I think that there's going to be other fuels that are going to be used in the coming years as we get to that. It's many years away as far as I'm concerned. You know, this is like leading edge stuff.
I agree, and I think of you a couple of different ways. Now, we've known each other our whole lives, or my whole life at least, and I think of you as such an interesting guy because you're like a Renaissance man in so many ways. Because you say you're in your mid-70s and you jump to EV, but I don't think that's a big leap for you because you're always looking to try new things and experiment. So you jumping in early, I wanted to wait and see how that
Good
went
catch.
for you. And thanks. And it went well for you. So that entices me now that if Raj likes it, I'm going to like it. So, all right. So
and I think, you know, we both have electrical backgrounds.
Right.
You,
right.
A lot more than I, but
no, just different. You're
a little different.
You're an electrician for a lot of years. I'm an engineer. We do different things, but both of them rely on electrons, right?
Right.
Correct. So, right. All right. So, what have you noticed is the biggest difference between what I'll call a traditional gas-powered vehicle and an EV, from your perspective?
Well, there's several. First of all, you don't have to go to a gas station again.
Nice. Yeah, that's
so you plug it in your garage or in your driveway if you have that. Mm-hmm. If you don't, like apartments, then you have to go to a charging station, and that's going to be handcuff you a little bit.
Right.
The other thing that's going to handcuff you a little bit is if you live in a cold weather climate. I mean, you know, if you live in upper Michigan or North Dakota or somewhere like that, I don't think that probably an EV, unless you have your own garage and everything, is
right.
the way to go.
Okay. All right. So one of the big questions I have, and I know it's just me and I'll get over it, I've heard this from other people that I've talked to about them, is this concept of range anxiety, right? Because with a gas vehicle, I can fill the tank in 15 minutes. I got a full tank, I can drive. And if I run it to E, which I do all the time, I just pull into a gas station, fill it up, and I'm good to go. With an EV, you have a range, maximum range. Now, I don't remember the two differences. What was the two ranges between the Tesla and the Ford?
The Ford is around 225. The Tesla is around 280.
Okay, so that's a pretty good distance. But if I were doing a trip like we did recently to Upper Michigan, that's a 17-hour drive. I'd have to plan that a little bit to find charging stations in between here and there to charge up.
Right, yeah.
You get used to that pretty quickly?
Well, yeah, you do. I mean, my first time of taking the Mach-E down to Florida, it was a learning experience, and you know, sometimes we went to chargers that didn't work, mm-hmm. and we had a hard time connecting with the people that could reset them and make them work. So that was tough.
Okay.
You know? And plus it was colder, so your range is, you have that degradation.
Right. And the cars tell you though, right? Like when you're driving, it'll tell you like, hey, there's a Tesla charger over here. Or
correct,
Ford.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
And then the other two things that were concerning to me is the batteries initially worried me, but if you're going to get 100,000, 200,000 miles, 150,000 miles out of a battery pack, that's about the life of a car. So I don't worry about sliding in new batteries halfway through the life of the car. Yeah,
I've seen videos where people had a couple 100,000 miles on the car. Was really, for me, the car is worn out when it hits 200,000. Right. I've only had one car that went over 200,000, and it was pretty shot. It was a good car, but it was done.
You've driven everything out of it, I think, at that point, until the wheels fall off.
Correct.
And then the other question around that, you've kind of answered it already, is around the charging compatibility. Because I know that Tesla was out early, and they've got all these superchargers all over the country.
Correct,
and you pull up to any Wawa in New Jersey, there's a bunch of them. So if you're driving a Tesla, that seems pretty straightforward. And the way I understand it is when you pull up, you put the thing in, and it knows like your account, like you're logged in, and it charges you. It's got a credit card or so it seems pretty smooth to go through that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It is. I haven't had any problem with one not working. Mm-hmm. I haven't had any problem with the availability of them. So.
And the Ford, I think Ford, like you'd mentioned to me earlier, Ford had signed a contract, I guess, with Tesla where there's some compatibility now, where there's an adapter coming for the Ford?
Yeah, correct, Rich. I haven't gotten mine yet. I applied for it last April or May, and they keep saying, well, it's be here in August, so be here in September. Yeah. Now they're saying it's going to be here in November.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's their way of controlling how many Mach-Es are going to go into a Tesla charger.
Right.
It could be.
All right, so let me stop you right there. So Tesla's never going to see this, but if anybody out there has the adapter, you don't want this conversation to happen again. So send me the adapter and I'll give it to Roger, so we won't complain about that. But I think you might be right. Maybe they're minimizing the amount of non-Tesla cars that use that. Yeah,
that's my guess.
More stations. But once that comes in, you can fast charge at a Tesla station.
I can, and I have a Tesla and a Tesla app, so it should be super easy to do.
Perfect, and that takes that anxiety away from you, I think, in most cases. That's great. And what's your home charger setup looks like? Like you've got to put a special fixture in for that?
You really don't.
Okay.
No, you can charge it on a regular wall outfit, 110. or a 220 outlet. It's like a dryer outlet. It's
okay.
you know, it's like 40 amp, 50 amp.
But it's AC you're charging it with.
Right, yeah,
okay.
it'd be 220, and then your dryer outlet, of course, is around a 240 volt.
Right.
So, and that's what I do. I put it in the garage, I put it on the 240. Now, maybe somebody that uses the car more than me would want to have their home charger, which isn't like a supercharger, but it's going to do it quicker than, say, 9 or 10 hours. Maybe it'll do it in 7 hours.
Okay.
You know.
And I think the difference there is that when you're charging it with AC, it's slower. Maybe that home charger's got a DC converter and you're doing direct DC to DC. I'm guessing here. I don't really know.
Yeah, I think that's
would
about
make sense. Okay. Well, that's kind of cool. And you have the standard like dryer outlet that you plug into, the 240?
Yeah, very similar.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that charges at about 8 hours. So if I pull in at night in the garage and I plug it in, I get up in the next morning, I got a full charge.
Right, yeah, you could go from 20 to 80% in that amount of time.
That'd be plenty. And we mostly do routine driving around the house. I'm not doing 300-mile drives.
Right,
so,
right.
Okay,
yeah.
well, that makes sense.
Yeah, commuters, I mean, I think it works out fine.
Right.
You know, you plug it in for a few hours and you're
good.
to go.
I notice a lot of the businesses, too, are setting up charging stations. A lot of larger companies have them in the parking lots. When you're at work, you can actually charge on their dime, which is nice. And relatively...
And hotels too, Rich.
Yeah, that's another
I have
thought.
charged at a hotel, and you know, it's a courtesy thing. You plug it in. The one hotel I was at a few months ago, they have a Tesla charger, and they also have a charger for just about any other.
Okay. And then I know everybody out there is probably wondering about the cost difference between the two. Like when I fill up my tank at the gas station, because gas prices, I guess they're averaging around $3, $3.50 a gallon at this point when we're recording this. $50, $55 to fill up a gas tank. When you fill that up for your 275-mile range on the Tesla, what do you think that runs you to fill that?
Well, it depends on if you go to a charge station or you charge it at home. Now, you charge it at home, my electric cost is 15 cents per kilowatt hour. But as you know, I have an all solar home.
Right.
So I charge for free, right?
But well, then that sounds so good.
it's definitely the way to go.
You're taking advantage of all the edge here.
Yeah,
I mean, you got the solar panels, you got the EV car.
You know, I don't think of it. I think of it as being like living off the grid.
Yeah,
right? Because now you run your house off solar, and you run your cars. You know, so
yeah, it's like a complete cycle of free energy.
Now, who wouldn't want to do that? You know, live off the grid.
Yeah, exactly.
Even some cat that's living, well, I'm not going to say where he's living.
Let's not get into that.
But who wouldn't want to do that?
Yeah, that is true. But I love that you take advantage of that stuff, right?
Now, if you do go to a charger, it's going to be like 40, 45 cents.
And that's because they're charging a premium, I guess, for the convenience of the charger.
Yeah, and it could be more than that in some areas.
Now, have you ever tested like from a not dead, but say 10% left up to a full? Like a rough number. Is it $8? Is it $12? Like what would the relative number be?
You know, I've never done that because I just don't, when I'm on the road, I don't run it down that far.
Okay.
Now, some people believe that, and it's probably true, that if you run it down lower, it's going to take a better charge, it's going to be a faster charge and everything. I usually don't do that. When I'm on the road, when it gets down to about 30, 40 miles, I'm ready for a charge.
I do the same. I'd be concerned. It's sort of like, well, we're talking about drones, but not really. But when I'm flying my drone, I bring it back at around 25%. If I get to 25%, even though I got extra energy, I worry that, man, I don't know, if I run into heavy winds or some issue, like I want to have a little extra in the tank. So I'd probably treat the EV the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably smart. All right, so let me ask you about repairs, because I know they don't break that often, because internal combustion engines with transmissions and all the rest of it are a lot more complicated, right? And they're going to need tuning and oil changes and all that other stuff.
Right,
Is there a lot, let me ask you the first question. Between an internal combustion and an EV, do you find that's less maintenance involved with the EVs? Or simpler?
Absolutely,
okay.
Yeah, and it's going to save you. You don't need the oil changes. You know, so it's the coolant system. You don't have to ever worry about that.
Right.
Right, so you got a lot of different parts. Some people say it's like 5,000 less parts in a car like this. I don't know if that's true, but you're eliminating the differential, the transmission, the drive shaft,
all that stuff. Yeah, and every bit of that's got a chance to go bad over time and wear out.
Yeah, I mean, think about your heater core and all of that. If you keep it for any length of time,
right?
You can run into some major repairs, but you don't have to worry about that. The Tesla does have a heat pump in it, which is very efficient, and so far, I'm happy with it.
Excellent. So then on to repairs, like if I need to get it repaired, and we talked about this a little bit off camera, but you got the Tesla and you got the Ford. if I need repairs on both of those, give me an idea of how much work that would be to find a dealer or find a repair center.
Yeah, well, there's only, in our state, there's only a couple of Tesla centers, I'll call them.
I find that shocking. I mean, we live in the tri-state area. You'd think they'd be on every corner like a Starbucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's pretty much the truth. I'd have to go about 45 miles to go, and that's probably not that bad compared to somebody who might have to drive over 100 miles to go to a Tesla center. So yeah, I definitely, I've been a big Ford, fan of my whole life.
My whole life I've owned Ford products.
We own several Lincolns and Fords and everything. So yeah, you can go to, like we talked off camera, you can go to just about any dealer and they're going to take care of you.
They have somebody there that understands the EV model of that car or whatever.
Supposedly.
Yeah. Okay, all right. All right, good. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about the acceleration because you gave me a chance to drive. By the way, we're doing another clip on this where we're going to do a walkthrough on both of his cars. He owns both the Tesla and the Mustang, and he's going to go side by side in a second clip in the series to explain maybe the differences and benefits of both. But he gave me a chance to drive the Mustang over to the park and drive the Tesla back from the park. And the one thing that struck me on that Tesla, the Mustang had a kick too, but that Tesla, when I hit that gas pedal, it was a rocket ship. It threw me back in the seat. Now, I'm going to sound super nerdy here, but when I was a kid in high school, my senior project for high school was an electric mini bike. I actually built one from scratch. I took a mini bike frame, put a battery on there from a car, a starter motor, wired that directly to the back tire, and hit the button. And when I hit that button, that mini bike had so much, it was direct torque to the tire, it flew out from underneath you. You'd have to hang on for dear life, right? That's exactly the feeling I got in that Tesla. Like that kick, that move has just got to be so impressive.
Yeah, it's a powerful car.
Right.
It's a car that'll do 60 in less than 5 seconds.
Jeez.
But
that's race car
mine
levels.
is not even the performance model.
Okay.
Which I have a friend that owns the Plaid, the S.
I've heard about
Plaid.
that. Yeah, that's
you're talking over 1,000+ horsepower in that, and that'll do 60 in about 2 seconds. No exaggeration.
It's got to be whiplash. How do you drive that?
You know what? I've sat in it, but I haven't really driven with them. But
Wow.
yeah, that's a lot of power.
And then the other thing I noticed about the Tesla versus the Ford, and I know we talked about this too, is that the regenerative braking on the Tesla takes a little bit of time to get used to, because when I hit the gas, it went great. The minute I took my foot off the gas, I felt that drag, like the regenerative kicked in, which I know is recharging the battery, so it's probably a positive thing. But that takes some getting used to. I imagine you develop a different driving style.
Yeah, I adapted to it faster than I thought. My sister-in-law has a Model 3, and she said, "Oh, it'd take you a week," and then you say, "I don't know, it feels pretty strange, because it's like you're hitting the brakes right away."
Yeah.
So you do learn that one pedal driving, and you do adapt to it. On a Tesla, there's really no way that you can have another setting. They've got their setting, and that's it. With the Ford, there's 3 different settings. I keep the Mach-E on the medium setting.
Okay, I noticed a big difference.
Regen.
Yeah, it felt
feels
like I was
more
driving
like a regular gas car when you let it off, which will slow down some.
Gotcha.
So
cool. Any regrets with the move from regular to EV?
No, I don't think so. With the one that I have now, the Tesla I have now, has full self-driving. You put in an address, it'll take you anywhere you want to go. And they've refined it. They've come out with many of the updates, over-the-air updates, that have gotten it to the point now where it is very good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still a little bit leery about if I would take it in a city,
Right.
Now,
So much
with
to consider.
pedestrians and
Yeah.
guys on bikes and everything.
Right.
I don't know.
No, I don't think I would trust it in
At
the
my
city.
age, I'm just not going to do it.
No, I'm with you on that. I agree 100%. All right, so let me ask you the hard question. And this is almost like asking you, which of your children do you love the best, right, when you got multiple kids? Of those 2 cars, can you give me some insight into what's best about the Ford and what's best about the Tesla comparatively?
Yeah, I think I can, Rich. The Ford is more like a traditional car to me. It feels at home. If you're a Ford owner out there, you're going to feel right at home in that Mach-E. It's got some DNA from Explorer and F-150 in there. it's going to feel good to you. It's going to feel at home.
Yep.
After a while, you don't even think about being electric. It's
Okay.
just very good. The Tesla is a very techy car. it's got more tech in it than I'm capable of using. You know.
Okay.
But with the full self-driving, you know, I posed the question to some of the older viewers out there that you have, is that you're not getting any younger and your eyesight's not getting any better. And wouldn't you like to have a car that you can punch going home and it's going to take you there, or it's a dark night, it's a rainy night or whatever.
Right, right.
Now you got 6 cameras besides your own 2 eyes that are watching this thing, and I just don't think you can beat that. And you know, I don't want to propose. You might have to edit this, Rich.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's all honest stuff. So go ahead.
I don't want to. If I propose that you're out with somebody, you went to a sports bar.
I know where you're going with this. Okay. Maybe you want to have a little extra safety. Let's leave it there.
Right. You get the picture.
I do get the picture. So I think my impression of it, and I don't want to insult you here, but I felt like when I sat in the Mustang, you're right, it felt just like a regular car. It drove like a regular car, except it was quiet. It was so whisper quiet. When I got in the Tesla, it felt like I was sitting in a spaceship almost. It was so Spartan as far as its appointments go, flat dashboard, one big screen in the middle. So I would characterize it in a word, 2 words, muscle car versus nerd car in a way. But I do appreciate those appointments like that. Self-driving for me, I agree. I mean, how many times you go out at night and maybe you're a little tired and you're a little blinky, and you put the car in self-driving and it can stay on the road and hit the curve, because I tried it out front here and I was panicking because it was coming up to a curve and I had my hands right at the steering wheel. Yeah. And sure enough, it turned gently around that curve and it handled the curve real well. So that's cool.
And then they've just come out with the, at least online, I've just gotten it where you can summon it. Smart summon.
Oh, that must be so
from
cool.
Your phone. We didn't try that out, but maybe next time we can try that out.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be clip number 3 then. We'll do that.
Yep. It'll come right to you.
I almost think, and maybe I'm wildly off on this one, but I kind of think like sooner or later, as they improve these cars and the safety features, as you mentioned with the self-driving, that eventually the insurance companies are going to look at insurance for cars and think the most dangerous thing in a car is the driver. And if we enhance that with all these safety features, the self-driving and collision avoidance and all that, that I bet you're going to get a better rate on your insurance over time. And they're going to probably raise the rates. If you want to drive your own car, you're more dangerous than Raj, like in a Tesla, right? So they're going to kind of drive the market.
Rich. Yeah, I think you're right on it, because right now the insurance is a little bit high on them, because the insurance companies are kind of afraid of what do we have to do to fix this car.
Right. Right.
Especially in a pretty bad accident, do we total it? And I think a lot of insurance companies,
they're figuring it out.
That's what they've done, is just total them, so they just jack up the rate. It is higher. Yeah. But cool. I think you're right. I mean, the accidents from full self-driving, they should lower the rates eventually. Okay. But it's going to take, I think, some time before they figure that out.
All right. So the last question I have, I know I said last question twice already, but we're kind of doing this to give you guys a feel for a dumb guy like me that hasn't jumped into EVs yet against the guy who's owned them for a couple of years. I'm really searching for that reason to jump. We're about ready to upgrade one of our cars to a new car, and the wife's interested in EVs, so we're going to jump. I'll ask you flat out, if somebody out there is in my situation of like being used to a traditional car and thinking about an EV, do you have any hesitation to recommend take that leap?
I don't think so. No, I don't have any hesitation on that. Which one would be best for you? I mean, I like the new Model 3s. Mm-hmm. I think she'd like that. Okay. But also with the Mach-E or possibly some other brand of EV, coming from a gas car, she might feel more at home, and you might feel more at home. You're a Ford guy, so yeah. Maybe you'd be happy with the Mach-E. Yep. We should have Kathy drive it and see what she thinks.
I will, because I want to make sure she's comfortable with it beforehand. Yeah. But all right, so I think all the conversations we've had around it, you've convinced me. I think it's the way to go, and I think it's the future. Throw some solar panels up, you get free electric, you charge your car. I kind of like the sound of that, so I really appreciate you taking the time. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I know this is non-standard for the channel, but I love this guy. He's my cousin, and I really respect his opinion. And we talk a lot about this EV thing, and I thought, this would make a good clip for the channel. I think you suggested it, actually, because you own the car, and you've owned them for a while, and you understand the benefits of them. And I hope you guys find value in this. Now, if you have questions, drop those in the comments below. We'll get them answered. If you guys have enjoyed this, we're going to do a second one where I'd mentioned we're going to go out and walk around the cars and point out some cool things about them. But if you guys enjoy this, we'll continue to do more clips on the whole EV segment. We just want to make sure you get what you need. So any last thoughts, Raj, or you good?
I think we pretty much covered it, Rich. I want to thank you for inviting me over. It's been
always fun to talk to you.
Yeah, it's been fun to shoot it. And
well, thanks very much for your time, my friend. Good.
Oh, you're certainly welcome.
All right.
Rich.
Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next time.